America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and you are watching the Black Athenians. And today we're going to talk about what to do after an election. I'm going to go very quickly and talk very quickly about the election, but I'm going to spend most of the show talking about what to do after the election. There are three very important races that happened on the May 22nd election. The District 10 primary, which was between Richard Dean Winfield, Tabitha Johnson Green, and Chalice Montgomery. There was the race for County Commission, District 1, between Sharon Dickerson and Patrick Davenport. And lastly, there is the race on the school board between Cara Dykeman and Amani Scott Blackwell. So what we need to do is talk about those three races, but I'm going to talk about them in a way that's actually productive. And I'm going to do it. It's going to be fascinating. But first, I want to give you a thought experiment. You are a registered nurse in Sandersonville, Georgia. You raised $5,200 for your campaign. You spent $5,000 of that on the filing fee, and you win the Democratic primary in Georgia, and that's against someone who raised closer to $70,000, and another candidate who raised about $65,000 as of the last filing announcements. So the question is, are you a plant? And hit the beat, Marcus.
Why is he so blurry?
I can't even see. It didn't come up for me.
It's very blurry.
Well, I come up, so maybe it's just a.
Fine there, but online
Well, all right, I'm back. So the Democratic primary went to the person who rose $5,000 in her campaign, and I think it's wonderful that she won. I think it's very interesting because I actually think it shows that the Democratic Party is captured, is easily captured, because I actually don't think that she has a chance in the general against Jody Heiss. I think she won because it's known by some people, not me now and before now, but by other people, know that there's a huge advantage to black women in Democratic primaries in the South, who then get destroyed by white men because there's a huge advantage for white men in the South and Republican governance. So let me say, pretend you're a Democratic strategist. You want your person to win, and you're in the South, and you see, or let's say you're a Republican strategist. No, you're a Democratic strategist. You want your person to win. You're in the South. You see in the Republican primary, by some crazy fluke, there is a black man and a black woman running in the Republican primary. By some fluke, there's a black man and a black woman running in the Republican primary. What are you going to do? And you know that, so what are you going to do? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to find any white man possible and put them on the ballot, because you know in a Republican primary, any white man, doesn't matter what his platform is, as long as they keep their mouth shut, is going to win that primary. Is going to win a Republican primary. So I suspect there's not going to be any proof, and people are going to be mad at me for a lot of reasons, but you do the math. My mom was a nurse. We never had $5,000 for just like for just a project for kicks. So I suspect someone paid Miss Johnson Green's entrance fee, and that person might not have had like her winning the general in mind. They know that she's going to be destroyed by Jody Heiss. I'll say that. I think it's cool that like it was a strategy that just shows that there isn't a real communications infrastructure in the Georgia 10th that we need to talk about in terms of political communication. It also shows that, experience matters. And now for the rest of my life, I'll know that unless there's a real communication infrastructure, black people became Democrats to get away from white Republican racists. So, like, demographics matter, and those things matter in a way that's, like, kind of profound in this race because for a variety of reasons. So there's that. So that was the most important race. My man Winfield lost, so we're not going to talk about jobs anymore with respect to at the federal level. But the second most important race was Imani Scott Blackwell. You might remember Imani. Can you give me a picture of Imani? I love Imani. Imani Scott Blackwell ran for school board, and she ran on a platform that was fantastic. She was like, look, we need teachers who are culturally competent, who can talk about race in a way that's sophisticated, and who could deal, because most of the public school students in Clark County school districts are black, but the teachers are not, and maybe they don't talk about race as well as they should. And honestly, maybe they don't talk about gender as well as they should. And would you believe disproportionately black students are punished in Clark County schools? So Imani wanted to take all this stuff head on. She didn't win her race. She came close. I like her. Is that the picture of her right there? I like Imani a lot. I think she's great in a well-ordered world. She wins that race. I like this picture a lot because she looks like my name is Imani. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Too bad for Imani. The third most important race was Patrick Davenport and Sharon Dickerson. Patrick Davenport won. That is huge. That is huge. It means anything is possible. It's not like Easter where like death has been defeated, but anything is possible if Sharon Dickerson can be taken down. That means in your local races, anything is possible. It's just 1,000 votes. It's a big high school election, whatever. Like, Patrick Davenport did it? Yeah. Talk about it, Marcus. What's up?
So yeah, Patrick winning is like literally having the mean girl prom queen.
Hold it to your mouth. There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So Patrick winning is literally like having the mean girl prom queen removed from power. I mean, this was Regina George's loss. Just kind of my thoughts on it. By someone completely from the outside who just solidly is, from my experience, a great guy and a great candidate. Right. So that was my thoughts on that one. Goodbye, Regina George.
So Patrick Davenport. Congratulations, Patrick Davenport. Congratulations, Athens, because we showed that anything is possible. You want your government, you can go out and take it, especially when it's only like 1,000 votes. So one out of the 3 most important races went the way I want. Turns out all the other ones went pretty well anyway. So we're looking at, quote unquote, progressive governance in Athens. People said, what is this, Berkeley? What is this, Santa Monica? What is this, San Francisco? The problem is, having grown up in LA and then done my college in Berkeley and spent a lot of time in San Francisco, none of those places are good for black people. So there's a way you can be progressive and still shed black people. I don't want that in my town. So we're going to have to be different than all of those places. I love Berkeley, but like black people are escaping from Berkeley because they can't pay. Things are expensive there. Housing's expensive there. So I don't want Athens to turn into Berkeley. It's got to be better than all of those because it's got to be progressive, yet still retain black people. That means we need to pay black people. And all across the United States, we have a hard time paying black people. We work a lot of things. We just don't get paid. Nobody pays black people. Nobody. It's the United States religion. People say it's baseball, but no, it's not paying black people. That's what makes us Americans. An aversion to paying black people.
Everyone else.
Yeah. Nobody pays black people. So now that we have a new progressive governance in Athens, how's it going to work in a way that doesn't shed black people? First thing you have to do is hire black people for staff. Now understand that in county governance, there's a lot of staff. There's a lot of staff, a lot of white people like make money administrating in the county. And okay, so first thing about governance, you have to know that there is expertise. Not everyone can do it. There is expertise. Expertise matters. The problem is if all of your expertise you learn by people who learn their job in a way that includes not paying black people, then learning their expertise doesn't help, right? So you need to learn the expertise, but get them out the door while you learn their expertise, so that you can do the job, but do it in a way that includes paying black people. So we need the expertise in government, and there's a great study that Antonio Moore quotes pretty often, and I think it's true. I haven't done the bibliographic work, but I think it's true that black people are pretty much locked into 13 occupations. We do 13 things. And the way you get to be a people who does 13 things, and there are lots of things, and there are hundreds of occupations in the United States, we do 13 of them, is that most of our grandparents were sharecroppers or domestic help. So those things matter. The fact that most of our grandparents were sharecroppers or domestic help. In the 30s in the South, 75% of the black labor force were either farm workers or domestic help.
And it was illegal to be anything else.
Yeah, and we were locked out of most other things. So the fact that that's where our grandfathers come from, like our grandparents come from, that explains why we're locked out of, other jobs. So I want us doing more jobs, but I don't want us integrating from the bottom necessarily, because that's how we screwed up schools. I want us integrating from the top, because we got to integrate where the power is. So I need our new progressive council or commission. If they're really progressive, you need to hire black people and fire white people. That's how you show me you're progressive. You're hiring black people and firing black people and firing white people, because if you don't do that, you're skill hoarding. And I think that's important, because expertise is hoarded in certain communities in a way so that when you give a job to your cousin, it's not racist, but the only reason they know how to do what they're doing is because they're your cousin and not my cousin. For example, yeah. Hold on, Marcus, stop. You have something to say?
Oh, no. Oh, so especially when it comes to dealing with black people, the idea that you want what's best for black people and you don't have a single person consulting for you who happens to be a black person, kind of worrisome. And I'm seeing that a lot in a couple of different spaces.
Yeah. So Marcus was saying that if you're trying to govern black people, but you don't have black people consulting you for you or working actually doing the governing, then that's a problem. And I think that's a problem that's pretty common. Now, the workaround for that is having black people in the room consulting for free. The white staffer who's being paid to do this work. What I want is the black person to be the staffer, even if they're not so good at it yet, because we don't know how to do everything. Our grandparents pick things. We don't know how to do govern. We don't know how to do everything. Doesn't matter.
What happened to on-the-job training?
What happened to on-the-job training? We changed on-the-job training to job training schools, right? And the problem with that is it shifts the vulnerability and it shifts the risk onto the most vulnerable, right? So now you have to take a loan to go to school for a job that may or may not exist when you're out of school, and since you're a stigmatized minority, the private market doesn't absorb you like the same way it absorbs everywhere else. Yeah, what happened to on-the-job training? And King was clear about this. He said jobs first. Training can come later. We need jobs. And there's another book called The Job Training Charade by a guy named Gordon Lafer. And he says, look, there are only like 2 million middle-class jobs. This is about 15 years ago, so the numbers might have changed. There are only about 2 million middle-class jobs that need to be fulfilled, and like 25 million people who want it. So even if you have all the training, there just isn't, like, we don't have a political economy for you. So This is like what my friend said about youth programs. If you don't know what to do about black people, just suggest youth programs. That means you're out of ideas and you don't really care. Well, we just need more youth programs. We just more like, no, because that just kicks the can down the road. We need more jobs. We need a federal program for jobs. But announcing youth programs just kicks the can down the road. And so now that these people are 13, we feel like they have hope. And then when they turn 25, they realize there was no job for them. And all the time, we should have just had jobs programs. Give me a jobs program for the 25, 35, 45-year-old. And I'll say that again, jobs programs. So anybody who's not talking about good jobs for black people, they're not really about our life, because that's what we need. More than youth programs, more than services, jobs. Jobs first. You can train me on the job. And I need you to fire the well-trained white person to hire the plucky but untrained black person, because you know what? That's what justice looks like in these United States.
So this reminds me of a recent story that came to my attention of someone who is amazingly good at their job, who repeatedly...
I don't get enough volume for you. Use my microphone while I find you another microphone.
Things that don't get said about me very often.
Yeah.
Not enough volume.
There you go.
So this reminds me of a story that I was having a conversation with someone. It's not my story to share, so I'm not going to name any names. But they pointed out that, they're already doing the job. They're doing the job that is normally someone, they're leading an agency, doing it well. Their numbers are high. Everything that they do has been successful in this category. But then to be told, well, we would really love to bring you over to this county, but you don't have the credentials. And I'm missing the fact, like, what happened to the days when having been able to show you can do the job counted for something? Like, that is a big issue for me right now, is that, you have people who, in a lot of cases, life skills have taught them how to navigate certain areas. They don't require them to spend 4 years in school learning how to navigate the area, because they have the experience, and it's not being given the credit that it should be anymore.
Yeah, so we put the cart before the horse. We put the cart before the horse with respect to education. We think education should be we say education should be for the job. Could you focus me back up, Andrew? We say education should be for the job, except if you can do the job without the education, we should have like a credential where we just stamp you and say, keep doing the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have the job, you don't need either, like if you're flying from the suburbs and you want to deal with poor black people, you got to go through master's programs. But if you're poor and black and it turns out you can deal with poor black people, maybe you don't need to go through that master's program in the same way. Maybe that's fine.
I also want to point out that if you pay attention, we are really selective about who we ask for their credentials.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, there's all data that says that, one, being a high school dropout, if you're white, you'll have more wealth just around you than being a black college grad. Two, black women just have all the degrees. Black women have a ton of degrees and still don't get paid for working. Like, black women have like so many degrees, still can't get a job that pays. Because we don't pay black people. So, so the idea is that, like, look, if this is a real progressive council, I'm going to need this council to fire some of their white staff and hire black people who might not be as traditionally trained to do that job. And this is what, so I'm going to put a dichotomy. I got some time. I'm going to make a dichotomy between Obama and FDR, right? So when FDR came to power, it was Truman, what's his name, Hoover's cabinet. So it was known that you just get rid of everyone, put your own people in. But he didn't put orthodox people in. He put like all these marginal, crazy people. And some of them were at fancy schools. Some of them were kind of in the middle, Harry Hopkins. Like all of these were, but they were all like ostracized. What's his name? The economist, like Keynes, like they were like the most radical people of like in Harvard. So like he would go to Harvard, but like he didn't pick the people that everyone know. He picked like the crazy one. Like, I want that guy. Don't you mean that guy? No, I want that one. And so like he randomly plucked all of these people who were like eccentric in their relative places, but then he put them in the and marginalized in the relative places. Yeah,
I hate the word eccentric.
You hate the
We,
word-
we only use the word eccentric when you have money.
yeah, that's true.
They were crazy.
Dude, if you do that with us,
Okay.
it's just that they were crazy. He took all. Why are you putting all these crazy people in your cabinet? So FDR put all of these like crazy people in his cabinet, and that's how we got the New Deal, right? Because he took the very smart but unorthodox. So you can be very smart and be orthodox, or you can be very smart and unorthodox. And FDR put the smart and unorthodox people in his cabinet. Obama just took Clinton's people. He's like, hope and change, but I'm going to do it with the exact same people Clinton did. And you know what we got? Black poverty. So everybody else did well, but black people. So that's what I'm going to need you to do. I need you to pick unorthodox. Well, let's be honest. I'm going to need you to pick crazy black people and hire them. And you could say, that's the way we get out of this. If you're really progressive, and not like Santa Monica, not like Berkeley, not like San Francisco, but like actually progressive in a way that doesn't just mean anti-black, but like, all right, so there's progressive that's for black people, and there's progressive that's not for black people. The Michael Vick case, I think, is very good, right? So like progressive that's not for black people is like, he needs to go to jail because what he did for dogs. Progressive that's for black people is, why are we putting this man in jail for dogs? He said the prime of his career. Can't he do like 4-H work? Like, have him race a dog. He's very fast.
Anybody else would have done a PSA and been done.
Yeah, do a public service announcement. A public service announcement. So there's progressive that's very carceral. If you watch some of this feminism, it's very carceral, very quick to put black people in jail. So I want you to be progressive, but not in a way that puts black people in jail. And you think that's going to be easy, but it's not, because like, yeah, go. Oh yeah, I thought you had something.
I realize that giving me this mic while I'm doing this is probably a horrible idea because it's just going to lead to me asking tons of questions.
No, I want you to ask questions. I just want.
So, honestly,
what's up?
What do you think the odds of that are?
That they actually hire, they need to fire black people. So I suggested, like, look, if you're a real progressive government, you need to fire some white people and hire black people in their stead, even if the black people aren't particularly trained. And then I got some pushback. No, you can't do that. This is people's livelihoods. Look, I was always talking about people's livelihoods. The people's livelihoods I was talking about just aren't your friends. So white people, when you say that, like, no, you can't mess around with people's livelihoods. I'm like, look, there's a little bit of collateral damage that goes with real progressive, like real justice. And that collateral damage just has to be white this time. There's a bit of arbitrariness in black life. To be black is to be like, everything is kind of fragile. I just want to, like, instead of concentrating that fragility in the black community, to spread it around a little. Everyone has a fair share of the arbitrariness of everyone a fair share of the arbitrariness of American life, which means there are stakes to political elections. And if black people vote for progressives and progressives win, that means white people, you got to take your arbitrariness. You got to take some of the anxiety we just deal with. So one, that means everyone's got to vote. Two, voting should have consequences, and good consequences for us, even if that means bad consequences for some white people. It's okay. You have skills. You can find another job. Maybe. I don't know.
Savings.
This is just black life. This is what people tell me all the time.
White people can go live with their rich family.
Yeah. You go find another job. Good luck. We're going to take this one. All right, go. Yeah.
The odds?
The odds of that happening? No, I don't think that's happening, because at the end of the day, being a real ally means caring more about justice for black people than it does keeping your white friends. And that's just not something that is permeated enough. So I'm going to say it again. Justice for black people means caring more about securing black people good jobs than it does keeping your white friends. And unless you're about that life, then you're not really about the community life, right? So if you're not, and that means if you're white or black. I always, like I tell people before, you judge a black ally by how they talk to white people. Yeah, about black people. like, that's how you can judge a white ally. That's how you can judge a black ally. So that's where I'm at. Also, people are saying like, well, you could be part of these boards, right? You should become a member of these boards. And there are lots of boards, and I do think board participation is very important. County board and city board and commissions and boards are very important. But that's a lot of uncompensated labor. And I realized when I was in college, because I was very busy in college, I was busy doing a lot of things. But I was often in a room as like a college person fighting for justice, as being the one black guy and a student in a room, in an administrative room, telling these administrators how to do. And everybody else in the room was paid.
Well, and I love the idea of being on boards, but once again, timing, travel in this town.
Yeah. Well, some of these boards meet at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, like a lot of the public service. So
It's in the white workday, in the black workday, but like it's meant for the white workday. And if it's after, if it's after that, I need someone to watch my kids. So I need you to have childcare. So there are lots of infrastructures. If you actually want to bring in a generationally poor community into governance, you need to create infrastructures. Or you can just pay me for the job, or pay me to be on the board. Pay me. Pretty much, if you want black talent, this all comes down to if you want black people in your organization, you need to come up with money.
But Irony,
Yes.
We should do it just because it helps the community.
It does help the community, but we don't have those kind of resources. We don't have the kind of resources that can just, like, you got a lot of, dependent spouses on these boards because they're free at noon and they have the resources to work without money. So you get a lot of dependent spouses on these boards, like doing the governance, this municipal housekeeping. And we don't have it like that, so you need to pay us. You need to either have like a hardship grant for board participation for black people.
Ooh, I like that one.
not even
I like
race-
that one.
Not even race neutral. You can just have a hardship. Look, if you don't have money, then you get a stipend for being on the board. A real stipend, not like,
Bus fare.
or jury duty. No, like real stipend. Like we actually expect you to be able to like do stuff. So like if you're serious about getting black people involved and calling that progress, we need to start talking about money, because at the end, this is always going to come to paying black people to work. Because we do pay people to work, those people just aren't black in numbers sufficiently. And in terms of governance, don't talk to me about like marginal expertise, because you do need expertise, but mostly you just need to be smart and plucky. So train me, pay me, and then leave, because the way you've trained me might be white supremacist, because the way the governance has worked for the last, 100 years is white supremacist. So I'm going to need you to get out of the room, then I'll take what I learned from you and then like make it black. That's how just governance is going to work. But I'm going to need this progressive council to actually be honest about like the need to fire white people in order to give technically less qualified black people jobs, because that's what justice looks like sometimes. And I know we're talking about like livelihoods, but like I've always been talking about livelihoods. I'm just talking about black livelihoods.
And let's just be clear. I'm hopeful for the board. I'm actually really hopeful for the commissioners. I'm happy with the results across the board.
Right.
But yeah, no, I worry that even some of them don't understand that while they call themselves progressives, their actions have consequences that really can...
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Like progressive, let me be clear. Progressive means you've made current reality unsustainable. That means like we have to go forward. So you've like made the arguments that like this is no longer sustainable. It's not some arbitrary service or youth program. It's like, no, we can't go forward. And let's be honest. And I'll make it more concrete. Anything that doesn't involve black people getting good jobs at fair wages in Athens directly isn't progressive. I'm not talking about like you can't have a progressive, and there's actually a good analog to this, because it's like a progressive white church during the lynching era that did everything else except deal with lynching. There could be a progressive white church that's good for They got soup kitchens. They got maybe some union stuff. They did everything except they let the lynching in place. That- yeah, I mean, you can be a progressive white church and even do. And let's pretend this is the one progressive white church that was cool with gay marriage in the 40s, but they were also cool with lynching. They're not progressive. So I'm gonna need you to be that with jobs, fair jobs. None of this $5, $7. I need you to be committed to black people working for $20, jobs and contracts, $20 an hour anytime they show up for anything. And if you're not doing that, you're not a real progressive because that's the next step. Marcus.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking about how we're going to need a hope meter.
A hope?
A hope meter.
Oh, I just want to be clear that anything that's not that is talk to me. What'd you say about jobs again? What'd you say about black people getting jobs? Did who? I need you to be like, any plan you come to me has to begin and end with black people having freedom wage jobs. That's freedom wage, not living wage. Pigs live. Slaves lived. I want freedom wage. That means I need to be able to do stuff. I need to be able to donate. I need to be able to tithe and have that tithe mean something. I need to be able to go to the NAACP and be a dues paying member. I need to be able to go to a movie from time to time. So I need freedom wages. I need to be able to make a business fail and then make another business. I need to be able to have $5,000 to run for Congress. And not be very quiet about my possible sugar daddy.
And not be starving my family to do it.
And not be starving my family to do it. So I need the kind of wage that allow my car to break down the same day as I get a hole in my roof and still be cool with it. That's oh, I just realized I got a leak in my roof and my car broke down, but it's cool because I'll be able to pay for it.
I'm wondering what that looks like. I've never
Apparently, I hear tell in Oconee County. I heard tell of a story about someone making $100,000. No, I'm just joking.
Okay, let's be clear. In Oconee County, no one's car breaks down because they do the preventative maintenance.
They do preventative maintenance.
Their cars don't break down.
That's how that works.
They got serviced every the mileage.
Oconee County is the county next door. The problem is those people work in Athens, so we should have those jobs. We should have those jobs. Don't talk to me about you're not trained. Nope, I don't care. Give me that job. I'll learn it slowly. And if I'm going to do it badly, that's just what justice feels like. Darn it. So with that, I'm gonna peace out. Now, don't call anyone who's progressive if they live in a town with black people and those black people are not working at good wages. Marcus, you got something?
No,
Take me
no,
out.
that's
All right,
it.
that's good. All right, see you next week. And except for the most important two races, and this is important, the two races that would have done the most for black people lost. But all of the other races won, yet we call this progress. I want you to sit with that. And with that, I'm going to leave. All right, get me out of here.